Thanks a lot for staying with us on TVC Breakfast. Now to a next leg of discussion. The Niger Delta is a petroleum-rich region and has been the center of international concern over extensive pollution causing environmental and human health hazards. The principal cause of this devastation is major oil spills caused by multinational corporations of the petroleum industry. And one of the major contributors to climate change is the exploration of oil and gas. In addressing this issue, a delegation of rights groups led by the African Network for Environment and Economic Justice, ANEJ, is in Norway to raise awareness among citizens groups as well as community leaders and decision makers about the level of environmental damage in the Niger Delta region. And joining us now via Zoom from Norway is the Executive Director of the African Network for Environment and Economic Justice, David Ogolo. Thank you for joining us from Norway. And you've been Right, it's good to have you join us on the program. You've been one of the very active voices on the issue of environmental degradation in the Niger Delta region, and now you, as well as other activists, are in Norway to engage with critical stakeholders on correcting the ills in the land in the Niger Delta. We understand that among the key stakeholders you will be engaging with is the Norwegian fund. Help us to understand their role in this and your target.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Good morning, Nigerians. We arrived Oslo a few days ago with a delegation of 4 under the leadership of Aneej through our platform, the People's AGM platform. We arrived Norway with one objective: to raise concern about the situation in the Niger Delta. You will agree with me that the level of environmental degradation and pollution is overwhelming. Means of livelihood of the people is completely destroyed. Level of poverty in the Niger Delta region in the face of huge wealth God has endowed the region is unacceptable. And we thought that rather than lamentation, it is good to put the issue in a global perspective and to also look at who takes responsibility for this damage done to the environment and the people of the Niger Delta. We feel very strongly that the role of the investors that are investing in the companies that are involved in oil exploration in the Niger Delta do also have responsibility. This is quite very innovative because this has not been given any attention in the last few years. The struggle for justice in Niger Delta have started. So the first thing is that we targeted the Church of England, who is also an investor in Shell. When we started the campaign, over 30 community-based NGOs drawn from different parts of the Niger Delta region and across the country wrote to the Archbishop of Canterbury, calling on the church not to align with Shell activity because Shell operation in the Niger Delta has brought pain to the people of the Niger Delta. And we were very happy that in June this year, the Church of England, having also experienced difficulties to try to change the behavior of Shell, decided to pull out of Shell. That success we recorded was very inspiring, at least sends a signal to Shell and other companies that it is time for them to change their behavior. It is time for them to take responsibility to at least restore the destruction that they have carried out in the region. So we also understand that very clearly that the Norwegian oil fund, Norges Bank Investment Management, is also one of the big shareholders in Shell. So we are here, and yesterday we met with them, and we're very happy that in the meeting with them, they agree with us. First of all, we met with the Ethics Council. The Ethics Council is an arm of the regulatory system to check the behavior on how the investment of the Norges Bank is also operating. We were very happy that 10 years ago, opportunity was given to Shell to change their behavior. And after 10 years of observing Shell behavior in the Niger Delta, it is clear to everybody that Shell have not changed their behavior. There are pollutions, the damage they have done to the environment. The cleanup that is ongoing in Ogoni land is unacceptable. It is in the piecemeal. They use the cleanup as a facade to deceive the world that they are embarking on cleanup in the Niger Delta. As you know, Ogoni is just less than 1% of the entire region of the Niger Delta. So what Shell is doing is using the Ogoni cleanup to deceive the world and deceive their shareholder. And we thought that it is better for us to counter this. And we were very surprised that when the Norwegian Bank, and that is the oil fund, the Norwegian oil fund, released their responsible investment report, they reflected this Shell position without any meeting, without any consultation, without any alternative view from the communities where these operations are carried out. And that's why we came to Norway. And we were very happy that we have met with different stakeholders, Norwegian citizens. We have met with the Norwegian Oil Fund. We have met with the Ethics Council. We have met with parliamentarians. We have met with different stakeholders. And the feedback has been very encouraging. As a matter of fact, the response from the Norwegian Oil Fund was even more important, as they are now in the process of developing a report after the 10 years observation of Shell operation in the Niger Delta. So that is the purpose why we came. And then we are calling on the Norwegian Oil Fund to visit the Niger Delta to at least assess what is happening, the operation of their of Shell in the Niger Delta and Eni, which was formerly Ajip, the operation of those oil companies, so that they see whether what they are saying is the same thing that is on ground. The reality is that when you visit Bayelsa, when you visit River State, when you visit Delta State, you visit all the operations where these oil companies are operating, is an eyesore. And the painful aspect of it all is that the community people has no opportunity to articulate this issue. And that's why this our visit is so important, and it's an opportunity to globalize the struggle and to ensure that the whole world, including the shareholders in these oil companies, take responsibility of what the operation of those oil companies is currently causing in the Niger Delta.
Interesting. So, having assessed the environmental impact of oil and gas exploration in the affected region, how much of damage has been done so far, and what are you looking at for reparations? Is it in monetary terms or other things?
Just to give you an example, just recently, the Bayelsa state government initiated the Bayelsa Oil and Environment Commission, and they draw expertise from international experts, very important people around the world. And this is the report that came out from that commission that document very clearly with evidence how the oil operation of Shell, Eni, and other operations have devastated the environment. And in this report, one of the key recommendations was that a $12 billion is required in the next 12 years to address just Bayelsa contaminations of their land, destruction of their land, and pollution of their land. That is Bayelsa alone. So you could imagine we have over 6 major states that are in the core Niger Delta. So you could imagine the amount of resources that is required. And if you look that vis-a-vis, for you to also imagine the kind of resources that is required to address the cleanup in the Niger Delta, and look the annual budget of Nigerian government, you will know that the capacity to deal with the challenge of the outcome of oil exploration in the Niger Delta is not there. And the liability that is left behind by this oil operation is what we are challenging this oil company, challenging their shareholder, that they must take responsibility. With a reference to Shell, for instance, if you see what Shell is currently doing, they are currently divesting from onshore to offshore. And the locals they are selling their asset to, they don't have the capacity to maintain those assets. They are just doing asset stripping. And what they are doing is that these Nigerians who have bought these assets from Shell, they don't have any capacity. They don't have even the technology. And then what we are asking and we are putting in the international community is that who takes responsibility for the liability cost on the operation for the last 6 decades? If Shell moves away from the onshore and moves to offshore, the liability that is in terms of pollution, destruction of the land, destruction of the livelihood of the people, which we require at least for just Bayelsa alone, this independent commission have now recommended that we need 12 billion. And look what is going on in the cleanup in Ogoni land. And you can imagine that the amount of resources that is required is a big one. And it's not what the Nigerian government or the state government or the local government can be able to do. And whereas why the people are suffering from the pollution, shareholders are laughing to the bank. Shareholders like the Norwegian oil fund, they are making billions of dollars. And here in Norway, here we can see children, their future are guaranteed. But the future of the Niger Delta people are not guaranteed. The level of unemployment, the level of violence is unimaginable. Complicating this, the political elite have so far also disappointed the people. And at this point in time, we have no option that to also target the investors. They have a responsibility. We must hold them accountable. And we are happy that the Norwegian Oil Fund has shown commitment to join us to find a solution by shifting the behavior of this oil company that have behaved in an irresponsible manner, that has wrecked the environment in the Niger Delta.
The argument was made at the time when the Church of England, for example, divested its shares. The argument was made that what is the amount of shares that the church has as investment in these major oil majors, that is, to hurt the investment, so to speak, or the portfolios of these oil majors. And I also want to ask now, in this regard of the Norwegian investment in these oil companies, how significant is this as to stop the continuous damage to the environment in the Niger Delta?
Thank you very much. I think this question is very important. When we were doing the campaign towards the Church of England, that's the question that was coming to the mind, that the Church of England investment in Shell is very insignificant. We didn't see it that way. It's very symbolic. As you know, the Church of England is a very influential institution in the world. They have a moral power of persuasion. And as a matter of fact, they were actually sharing an institutional investment share that was very powerful. And so when they decided to pull out of Shell after frustration, it sends a strong political message to investors around the world. It's just that Shell is a difficult company. It's a very difficult company. If you look their history in Nigeria, is a history that is colored with darkness, is colored with bad behavior. But because they live in an environment where there's the political will to hold them accountable within the political elite is weak, they have taken advantage of that weak regulatory environment. And so it doesn't matter is the level of investment of the church. They are pulling out of Shell investment, send a strong message. And it's, as a matter of fact, it's one of the things that is increasing the momentum for our campaign globally. And then when you come to the Norwegian church, the Norwegian Oil Fund, they are the third largest investor in Shell. So the amount of share they are holding in Shell is very, very significant. And we are calling on the Norwegian government that they should not risk their asset because of climate change challenge, environmental challenge, and then human rights abuse of this company. Because if anything go wrong, their asset will be in a danger. And that's why we said, apart from their asset being in danger, the reputation of the Norwegian government will also be in danger because Norway is seen as a country that supports peace and development around the world. So they cannot be investing in a company that has no respect for human rights and livelihood of people. They cannot be investing in a company that refuses to adopt a development that will impact positively on the people. And so we think, and we have strongly believed, and that once the Norwegian Oil Fund releases their report, it will persuade other investors in Shell. And that will begin to mark the end of Shell as a company in the world. Because our ultimate goal is that if Shell refuses to move towards even respecting the livelihood of the people of Niger Delta, then Shell does not deserve to exist in the world. They don't deserve to exist because if you look, if you've been to Niger Delta, if you see what is going on Daily people are dying. Women are dying. Children are dying. It's unacceptable. They cannot continue to lay claim to the fact that because we have a weak regulatory environment and that they have to continue to operate in a manner that suggests that they have no respect for the people. This level of impunity is enough. And this is the time for Shell to shift their behavior. This is the time for Shell to take responsibility. Their liability, they must take responsibility. Their divestment from onshore to offshore is a deceit. They cannot move away from the problem. They have caused a problem. The mangrove have been destroyed. The stream have been destroyed. The land has been destroyed. The people's livelihood has been taken away from the people. Shell must take responsibility. Their shareholders must take responsibility. We live in a world where we have responsibility to hold those who commit crime accountable.
Well, if you ask Shell itself, it will tell you that it has not produced oil and gas since 1993 and is not also looking forward to resume its operations. That's one. And the other one is there have been lots and lots of monies budgeted for the Ogoni cleanup. One which that was flagged off by the former Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, and about $1 billion, also voted for that. Also, IREP said I think last month that they've also released $360 million. All of these monies, how do you react to them? How far has this plan to clean up the Ogoni
what is $1 billion? What is $1 billion compared to the damage done to the environment? My brother, just try. I will encourage TVC to set up a fight-funding mission to Ogoni land. We're talking about people's livelihood. The land has been completely destroyed. What is $1 billion? What are you talking? You're talking about natural risk. Look, you're talking about land that has been completely damaged. You're talking about mangrove forests that have been completely damaged. You're talking about river. As a growing up child in the Niger Delta, our source of protein is the river. But today, what the people eat in the Niger Delta is ice fish imported, stockfish imported from Norway. Is it not painful?
You mentioned that of, sorry to butt in, you mentioned that of $1 billion. I just mentioned another one, which is $360 million. And another one, sometime in May, when the federal government also said it approves and also give reasons for, the 327 billion naira Ogoni cleanup and, others, for the cleanup process and other issues.
I am challenging you. Yes, it's not just enough to announce money release, but the question is to see the impact of that money. You and I know that the situation of corruption in Nigeria is not something that you can contest. And if you interview 1 or 2, 3 people across the street in Nigeria, they will tell you the level of impunity when it comes to issue of corruption. And you also want to say about the issue of NDDC. I'm sure that you are familiar with the forensic audit that came out and then demonstrate evidence on how money voted for projects across the Niger Delta went to private pocket. Has anything happened? That's the same thing that is happening with this money voted for cleanup of Ogoni. Nothing is going on. What is going on there is just a child play compared to what we expect by now. People are dying as we're speaking. Children are dying. Women are dying. That's what we're talking about. So you cannot be talking about billion when people are dying. The amount of resources that is required, the political will that is required is beyond what we are saying. And that's why we are saying that it's not just Nigerian government alone that will solve this problem. The shareholders who have benefited from the last 6 decades, they have responsibility to ensure that the loss and damage in the Niger Delta, they also take responsibility. We are not doing this campaign to undermine the Nigerian government. We're not doing this campaign to undermine any stakeholder. We are saying that solution is possible. We are saying that political will is required to ensure that there is a consensus in moving forward in a way that will address the problem, so that at least to arrest the increasing infant mortality, to ensure that the land that has been completely destroyed is restored back, so that people's livelihood can be restored back. And we are saying that there should be a consensus that there is a problem, and that the amount of resources required to deal with this problem is not what the Nigerian government can provide alone. particularly against the background that those who benefited from the destruction also have a responsibility to ensure reparation is paid back to the Niger Delta people. And that's what we stand on. And that's the reason why we are in Norway. From here, we will go to the US. All the investors in the US, we're also going to target them. We are using two-pronged approach. We're using a global campaign. It has happened before. People who have faced injustice, the Jews, they fought for their justice, and they got it. And I don't think the Niger Delta, there will be an exception. The people of the Niger Delta will seek for justice, we will continue to seek for justice, and we will get it, no matter the challenge, no matter the difficulties we face. Forget about the political elite who have betrayed the people, but we have responsibility to defend our future generation.
On the flip side of this lingering controversy, Mr. Ogulo, is the defense of these oil majors who have, exonerated themselves basically from the carnage in the Niger Delta, accusing instead saboteurs, pipeline vandals, and oil thieves for the devastation in that region. Of course, this also coming amidst efforts by Shell, for example, now to move to offshore deep operations. What's your reaction to that?
Sorry that I have to make this parallel. You raped a woman and you said the woman has no right to go to the station to complain. You raped a woman, you said the woman has no right to cry and to reflect on the pain you have inflicted on her. This is really unacceptable. And that's, as a matter of fact, is the reason why we have started this global campaign to challenge this narrative, which I think establishment try as much as possible to criminalize the people, give them bad name so that you can hang them. This is exactly what the Shell and Eni and other oil companies are doing in the Niger Delta. The amount of fraud and corruption that is involved in the oil and gas industry is not carried out by poor people. Just to give you an example, just few months ago, about a year ago, Glencoe, one of the oil commodity company, was involved in a massive corruption across the Africa, including Nigeria. Key officials in NNPC were compromised, distributed money across NNPC. What has happened to those officials in NNPC? Nothing has happened. The same thing, the illegal pipe that was found taking crude oil, vessels that are coming in. Is it the poor people of Niger Delta? Vessel that is as big as, you can imagine the vessel that come from high sea. Is it the poor people of Niger Delta? Those illegal pipe, what has happened to the people who did it? Has the federal government taken any action against anybody? So what are you saying? And in the process of bringing this illegal pipe to the pipe, what happens? There is an oil spill. This is what destroyed the entire environment. But you cannot, I will not take away the fact that there are some negligible community people who also go scoop fuel here and there, scoop this crude oil. But to really be realistic, and because we are in a situation where government cannot even confirm to Nigerians the amount of barrel of oil that we produce daily, because as a result of this weak regulatory environment. You can easily go to the NETI, the Nigerian Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative website, and see the level of atrocity that we cannot even point because of poor metric system and because of poor regulatory environment. This is the challenge we face in the country. And this is the challenge we face in Niger Delta. Our people are now being criminalized for not just any reason. We have the Navy, we have the military, we have all kinds of security agencies across the region. If I tell you the most militarized region in the world is Niger Delta.
Right. So if those who are causing some of these problems in the Niger Delta include the people from within the Niger Delta itself, in collaboration with those who are coming from outside to tap into the crude oil and cause environmental degradation in the state in the region, do you not feel that this jeopardizes your expedition to Norway, and as you also plan to go to other countries, to speak to those who have directly or indirectly done anything bad to that region? So if the collaboration from within is not taken care of, isn't just that going into jeopardy?
It's just like it's like drug. I can also make a parallel with drug pushing. those who export drugs to the US, America, and all that. And people who take the drug are in the US and in Europe. As the US or European government fold their hands and say because there are people who take the drug in our country, and that on the basis of that, we should not stop campaigning against drug. What are you saying? These are poor people in the Niger Delta who hasn't got any other options. They are poor. They have no other options. These people come from outside. But we have a government at the central government. The oil business do not belong to the Niger Delta people. It's belonging to the federal government. The federal government had their security presence across the region, very militarized. I am saying there's a complicity from the federal government. The federal government cannot claim ignorance. The oil company cannot claim ignorance. Oil company, Shell, has the technology. They know what is happening. And that's exactly what we told their investors yesterday. Shell cannot claim ignorance. The federal government cannot claim ignorance. It's a big business. It's not business for the poor people of Niger Delta. We are just a victim. We are just being criminalized. Enough is enough. And that's why we are saying that we can no longer keep quiet. We will not allow political elite from the region who are also complicit in hands with the federal government to be the ones to continue to dictate for us. We have responsibility to cry out. Enough is enough. The criminality in the Niger Delta is sustained by the political environment in Nigeria. If the federal government wants to end bunkery, they can end it in a day. But the people that are involved in the oil bunkery in Nigeria are people that are powerful. They are people in high political platform. It is not the poor people of Niger Delta. We are just victim. We are victim. We are victim. That's why we are crying to the world. We need justice.
In your quest for justice, you've also headed to the court. Several activists and groups have, sought interventions from the court on foreign lands, even, who have made landmark judgments on the matter. Sometimes, or in many times, giving to the people, giving judgment to the people. There is one judgment, though, that kind of exonerated oil majors. But in all of this, in all of the court's intervention, I just want to know how much good they have brought and respite, most importantly, to the situation at hand.
Yeah, for example, we do not believe in violence. We will never. I don't subscribe. Personally, I don't subscribe to violence. I believe in the struggle through peaceful means. And so one of those peaceful means is also using the legal process. And I'm happy that there have been successes in trying to use the judicial system at the international level. Because obviously, if you look within the country, in Nigeria, Shell, if you are familiar with the literature on state capture, Shell have captured Nigeria. They have captured the system. When you say Nigeria is corrupt and Shell is able to operate in a corrupt environment, you can logically conclude. So what Shell have done in Nigeria, if you go to court and take Shell to court in Nigeria, you won't go to anywhere because the judicial system has been compromised by Shell. And apart from that, they have the resources to delay the case for 100 years. So that's why we are looking for international arena, international platform where we can name and shame Shell and expose them, and so that they can shift their behavior and take responsibility. So we are working on different pronged approaches. There are those who are working on the legal process. There are those who are working on a campaign. There are those who are working on lobbying. There are those who are also engaging the institutions. There are those who are also engaging our government, because our government ultimately must take responsibility. And that's my message for President Tinubu. President Tinubu has responsibility to change the story of Niger Delta. He should not allow those political elite from the region whose only interest is to continue to look for contracts because they come from the region does not give them the license to continue to deceive those in Abuja. Because what has happened, and this is my appeal to President Tinubu, please, 4 years will soon count. Don't allow this political elite who call themselves Niger Delta people to deceive you. Look east-west road. If Tinubu can just commission 6 lane from Benin to Calabar, the Lord and God of heaven will remember Tinubu. Don't give this money. Don't give this money to the people, because after 4 years, what will Tinubu be remembered for in addressing the Niger Delta question? All these individuals who comes and claim that they are leader of the region, They are the people who have also carried contract in complicity with federal government officials to deceive the people. So Tinubu should never allow these Niger Delta people who are in Abuja, who claim to belong to his political party. Because if you see what has happened in the Niger Delta NDDC, it is not foreigners that have stole the money. It is members of APC who are in NDDC who stole the money. It's not the Niger Delta, it's not the common man and common poor people of the Niger Delta. So Tinubu should make a record, because 4 years will soon count. What will Tinubu be remembered for?
All right.
The forensic audit report on NDDC. Who were involved in the corruption? Who stole the money? Where is the money?
All right. We thank you very much, the Executive Director of the Africa Network for Environment and Economic Justice, David Ugolo, for your contributions on the program this morning, and we wish you fruitful advocacies, especially for the greater good of the Niger Delta people. Once again, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity.